and welcome. This is Amhara Media Corporation English Service and you're watching our daily updates. I'm Gaila Damu. Stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed stated that the performance of the financial sector in Ethiopia has been showing positive growth over the past 6 months. We have more. Presenting his government's 6 months performance report to the House of People's Representative, the Premier stated that the total loans provided by banks over the past 6 months has reached 172 billion birr. He said the banks have also collected a total of 311 billion birr during the stated period, showing a 100% growth compared to same period last year. According to him, 90% of the total loan was extended to the private sector in the country, which is very important as it expedites the ongoing development efforts of the nation. The Prime Minister added the agricultural sector projects have received some 92 billion birr loan during the stated period, which shows a 29% increment compared to the same period last year. He stressed the loan provided to the agriculture sector is very encouraging, though it has to be further strengthened in the future. Abiy also said that the financial sector has provided 39 billion birr loan to small and medium enterprises, which is 36% bigger than the previous year's same period. The Prime Minister added the financial support provided to the small and medium enterprises will pave ways to create more jobs to the citizens. The Prime Minister pointed out the overall situation of financial sector in Ethiopia is healthy and showing encouraging growth. However, more caution is required for the financial sector as the sector at the global level has suddenly been showing failure. However, the Premier stressed the need to take more cautions on the overall situation of the financial sector by taking lesson from the failure of Western banks. In this regard, he urged the National Bank of Ethiopia and Finance Ministry to properly carry out their oversight activities as the house banks play a key role in the national economy of the country. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopia's economy is continually growing despite all the global domestic challenges during the past months of the current fiscal year. Brown Workana has more.
Addressing the House of People's Representatives yesterday regarding the questions raised in connection to the 6 months report of the government, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopia's economy is continually growing as the ties of the country with the global community increases. The growth of global economy has been down for the past 3 years based on the projection of IMF from 6.1% in 2021, 3.4% in 2022 to 2.9% in 2023. He said the global economy has also been facing several challenges, including crises in the banking sector, inability to repay loan, inflation and devaluation of local currencies, among others. Prime Minister Abiy noted sub-Saharan countries expected to register 3.8% growth as IMF projected 5.7% growth for Ethiopia this fiscal year. For the Premier, working on reducing accumulated debt, increased cost of living, filling the gaps in infrastructure and working on the difference between supply and demand will be crucial to realize the country's ambitions. Citing that inflation has been increased in Ethiopia for the past 20 years, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed affirmed currently 184 countries are facing challenges of inflation globally as 110 countries inflation increased by more than 10%. Regarding the measures being undertaken to minimize inflation, Abiy said increasing supply of productions, subsidy and budget allocation are among the measures taken by the government. He affirmed that the government has spent over 50 billion birr to subsidize fuel and another 21 billion birr for fertilizer over the past 8 months. In terms of resource mobilization, the nation has collected 210 billion birr from tax so far this budget year, which exceeded by 28% compared last year's similar period, as the expenditure of the government amounted to 376 billion birr during the past 7 months. man-made and natural disasters were mentioned among the reasons for the rising of the cost of expenditure as the export trade of the nation registered below the plan, mainly due to the contraband trade of gold and jade during the stated period. During the occasion, Prime Minister Abiy praised the service and foreign direct investment sectors for registering better performance so far.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed disclosed that the development of 8 tourism sites in different parts of the country will be launched soon under Dine for Generation initiative. And Netanyahu has the details.
Responding to the questions raised by a member of parliament yesterday, Prime Minister recalled that the government of Ethiopia has made tremendous achievements on the Dine for Sugar and Dine for Nation initiatives. Recalled the construction of 3 projects being underway at Wonji, Gorgora and Koesha respectively in Oromia, Amhara and Southern Nations, Nationalities and Peoples regional states under Dine for Nation initiative. Abiy stated the 3rd flagship Dine for Generation initiative will be launched at Garalta in Tigray, Haik in Amhara, Jimma, Oromia, as well as Arbaminch in Southern Nations, Nationalities people and in Afro and Somali regions, while 2 other private investments will be launched in Benshangul Gumuz and in Southwest region. The Premier added that so far 5 billion birr has been collected for the projects in less than a month. Abiy pointed out that the projects will greatly stimulate Ethiopia's tourism activity, enabling citizens to benefit more from this sector. He called on Ethiopians to support for the success of the projects.
With financial, health and climate shocks threatening to reverse 2 decades of development progress in Africa, experts have called for urgent concessionary financing to help the continent build resilience and boost economic growth. Groundwork and tells us more.
The experts made the remark during a one-day virtual workshop on catalyzing access to IMF Resilience and Sustainability Trust organized by AfriCatalyst and the Economic Commission for Africa. According to the experts, a mix of shocks including food and fuel impact of the Russia-Ukraine war, climate change impacts, conflict and tighter global financial conditions have increased Africa's development financing gap and debt vulnerability. Economic Commission for Africa Director, Macroeconomics and Governance Division, Adam Ilhiraika said, in the past 6 decades, every global recession has led to a rise in global government debt and that many African countries had increased their public debt. He added, a bulk of the public debt was incurred between 2020 and 2021 when countries sought to combat the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, many countries were struggling with high debt and in servicing it, which was impeding poverty reduction and hindering their recovery from shocks. Despite national and international efforts, an increasing number of countries on the continent continue to struggle with substantial debt burdens and servicing their debt, with some already in debt distress or at high risk of debt distress, Ilharika said, emphasizing that this was impeding resilience building to future shocks, which is key for sustainable development. In a bid to help developing and low-middle income countries build resilience to external shocks and achieve sustainable growth, the International Monetary Fund established the Resilience and Sustainability Trust. Under the Resilience and Sustainability Trust is the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, an innovative financing instrument to help countries address long-term structural challenges including climate change adaptation and mitigation and pandemics. AfriCatalyst, an Africa-based global development advisory firm, has developed a practical guide to inform policymakers and domestic stakeholders about the Resilience and Sustainability Facility's key features, eligibility criteria and objectives, according to Economic Commission for Africa. The guide also explores how the International Monetary Fund assistance under the Resilience and Sustainability Trust could support the design and implementation of national macroeconomic policies to integrate climate and pandemic risks, as well as the cost of adaptation into their macro-fiscal frameworks. AfriCatalyst founder and chief executive officer Dauda Sembene said, the Resilience and Sustainability Trust had a potential benefit for African countries reeling under high indebtedness. With the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, AfriCatalyst was bolstering evidence generation and technical advisory support for African policymakers to promote access of sub-Saharan African countries to International Monetary Fund financing under the Resilience and Sustainability Trust. Sambani noted there was high demand for climate financing, but available resources were limited. The International Monetary Fund was currently seeking 40 billion for the Resilience and Sustainability Trust, but had only effectively raised 26 billion US dollar. African countries need additional resources, Sambani said, remarking that the accumulated climate finance of 52 African countries under the nationally determined contributions was estimated at 2.3 trillion US dollar. Senior advisor AfriCatalyst Feno Hasina Rakoto Darazaka Mare said access to this financing will be granted based on the nation's reform strengths and debt sustainability. The concessional loans have a 20-year maturity and a 10.5-year grace period. Borrowers will pay an interest rate that is a modest margin over the 3-month SDR rate, with the poorest countries getting the most favorable financing terms.
The National Digital Agricultural Extension and Advisory Service Roadmap 2030 Stakeholders Forum formally launched the implementation of Digital Agricultural Extension and Advisory Services Roadmap. Maud Domlier has more on it.
In his opening remark, Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute Chief Executive Officer Mandefo Neguse emphasized the roadmap's role in improving farmers' life, especially women and youth farmers. According to him, the roadmap is developed with target in mind to increase farmers' productivity, improve farmers' climate resilience, empower women and youth farmers, and improve nutrition and food security for rural households. Agriculture State Minister Mallas Makonnen highlighted on his part the development of Digital Agricultural Extension Service, its importance and the role of the private sector in the implementation of the roadmap.
We believe that the roadmap which ATI is mandated to lead through strong integration and collaboration with Ministry of Agriculture will play a key role in coordinating efforts for empower and enable farmers, including youth and women, by using digital systems to provide access to information in a timely and accurate manner.
He also explained that the roadmap has been developed using a constructive and iterative approach. Digital Economy Advisor at the Office of the Prime Minister, Miriam Said, also noted the importance of digitalizing the agricultural sector in the overall economy of the country.
Multiple efforts are ongoing to link the smallholder farmers to markets through e-commerce platforms. However, additional efforts are required in building digital skills, upskilling and reskilling smallholder farmers through large campaigns, but also by using human-centered design approaches to launch relevant products to the smallholder farmers and ensure inclusivity.
The full-day forum, whose objective was bringing together key stakeholders in the digital agricultural ecosystem to promote collaboration, coordination and learning, was held in the presence of high-level federal and regional government officials, representatives of development partners, NGOs and private enterprises.
You're watching Amhara Media Corporation English Service, and now let's proceed to News Beyond Borders. Calls for calm and dialogue in Kenya have multiplied on Tuesday, including from the African Union in the wake of fresh protests marked by violence and looting. On Monday, police fired tear gas to disperse opposition demonstrators in Nairobi and in the western town of Kisumu, where one person was killed. In Nairobi, in addition to tear gas, Police also used a water cannon against opposition leader Raila Odinga's convoy as it drove through a busy area of the city, leading to crowd movements. The protests began on March 20th after a call by opposition leader Raila Odinga bi-weekly protests. Odinga accuses President William Ruto of being unable to control the soaring cost of living. On Tuesday, the AU Commission Chairperson Musa Faki Mohammed expressed his deep concern about the violence during the demonstrations in Kenya. UN Chief Antonio Guterres and UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk called for creating a new institution to help locate tens of thousands of Syrians missing since 2011 civil war. The UN chief has urged the 193-member General Assembly to establish a new international institution to clarify the fate and whereabouts of 100,000 missing Syrians. Antonio Guterres said on Tuesday Syrians deserve to know the truth about the fate of their loved ones. An estimated 100,000 have gone missing since the country's civil war began in 2011, when anti-regime protests were brutally repressed during the Arab Spring. Guterres said people in every part of the country and across all the divides have loved ones who are missing, including family members who were forcibly disappeared, abducted, tortured, and arbitrarily detained. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk, on his part, said on the conflict, now in its 30th year, was a human rights tragedy. Turk said it is impossible to establish with certainty how many people have been disappeared in Syria. The figure of 100,000 is often cited. The real number may be far more. He said there will be no enduring peace in Syria without progress on the issue of missing persons, as he urged the General Assembly to consider the establishment of a new institution to bring clarity to what has happened to all the people who have been disappeared. Vice President Kamala Harris pledged a new era of partnership with Africa on Tuesday when she speaks from Black Star Gate, which commemorates Ghana's independence from colonialism. And Nathaniel presents the story.
On her second full day in Ghana is part of a week-long trip that will include visits to Tanzania and Zambia. Harris is the most high-profile member of President Joe Biden's administration to visit Africa as the U.S. escalates its outreach to the continent, she says in excerpts from the speech provided by her office. Together, they will address the challenge they face and the opportunities ahead. Much of the Vice President's remarks will focus on innovation and entrepreneurship, part of her effort to spotlight Africa as a place for American private sector investment. It is something that Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo said he hopes to see after years of being overlooked. Akufo-Addo said when he met with Harris on Monday, they want to be able to change that dynamic. After the speech, Harris planned to tour the Cape Coast Cattle, a seaside fort where enslaved Africans were loaded onto ships bound for the Americans. Harris also planned to deliver remarks there. U.S. outreach is part of the global competition over Africa's future, with China and Russia each defending their own interests in the continent as well. But Harris has been careful to play down the role of geopolitical rivalries during her travel there. For her speech on Tuesday, Harris says in prepared remarks, America will be guided not by what they can do for their African partners, but what they can do with their African partners. On Monday evening, Harris and her husband attended a banquet dinner hosted by Akufo-Addo. In addition to officials from both countries, American celebrities, business people and civil rights leaders also attended. Guests included actors Idris Elba and Rosario Dawson and director Spike Lee.
This is Amhara Media Corporation English Service, and now let's take a look at the foreign exchange rate. That's all the news we have for today. I'm Gaila Dam. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the rest of our programs.
Choke Mountain is said to be the source of this huge river. There are rivers which are tributaries of Abai River. Now we are to explore Choke Mountain and the biodiversity within it.